Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. The snow is starting to melt outside. It's March 12th when I'm filming, and I finally have all 14 days of the Paradox devotional finished. And so this was clear back from December 2024, and this is March of 2025, but I have loved working through this devotional, and I want to show you what I have left of all of the materials in this devotional. I only have some alphabets and the paint and just a few things left in that whole devotional. And I went ahead and used some of the leftover supplies after I did all the cards, and I went ahead and put them in the booklet, and I just like that, and I have loved this. This has been my favorite devotional of all of the By the Well for God devotionals that I've done, and I just have loved that whole idea of, you know, the comparison of two things that appear to be a paradox, and then they're both true. And one of my favorite quotes was from this whole devotional was that, in fact, it's right here on this page I just happened to open up to. This is Jen Michael or Jen Michelle. It would seem that God has a kind of preference for paradox, that given the choice between either and or, God would often choose and. So he chooses both. And so anyway, I've just really loved it. And so a few people have asked that I go ahead and show you the cards that I've done in this devotional. This is my ring, and I'm going to just open it up and take these off so that I can easily show you all the cards, and then we'll put it back together and just take a look at all of them. So here is my title card. And I loved the snowman. This was on the card that was the sort of the introduction to the devotional. And I used various ribbons, and the one I used most I'll show you in just a minute. And then I'll show you how I kind of incorporated metal at the beginning and the end. So at the end, I'll kind of wind that all up. And so this was the title and the title scripture that went along with that. So for this particular card, I don't know if you can see on camera, but there are these really light snowflakes. And I used the stamp set that came with the devotional, and I loved these snowflakes. I used them over and over, and you'll see which other ones of these I used throughout the devotional. I used a pearl embossing powder, and it just gave that really light snowflake image that you can only see in a certain light. I used glossy accents to hold down that little arm and to give this a little bit of texture. Okay, so I wanted to put the definition of paradox in there. I had this as a separate card, but it kept getting caught on the next one. So I went ahead and encased it in some laminating film. I went ahead and laminated it, then punched the hole and, did the holes and everything, and used the title of the kit. And then the next one, I really wanted to use a lot of metal in this just because I like metal. And so this one, these are just some little charms I had. You'll see them throughout. And I used foundry wax, Tim Holtz foundry wax, to color them different metal colors. And that has to be heated for it to be permanent. And then I used little cards for little inserts, and put the day on every one of them. I really enjoyed using some edging, little lace edging dies that I had to do that. And then these ribbons that I used, I just loved this. And so this is actually two separate packs that I got from Hobby Lobby. I think it was these two and then these two. And they just fit so well with the colors that I bought those to use throughout while I was doing the kit. And put quotes in there that I really liked. So this day one is all about God's view being different from our view. And I just really liked that, and included cards from the devotional, the scripture cards that they put in. Not all of them, but most of them. This one, I included a paper clip as part of the medal, and this one has a little card that comes out with a quote on it that goes along with day 2, which is sinners made righteous. And so I thought that was fun. So when I glued the front and the back together, I just did around the edge and left a pocket there so that I could put my little quote and day 2 on that one. I decided to go ahead and use my label maker to do the paradoxes for each day. I just wanted to remember those, and I thought that was really helpful. I loved this snow. This was a die that I had. It's kind of a border die with some freestanding snowflakes that I put in there. And then I don't know if you can see, but I put a little bit of just glue here and there and used some rock candy glitter. I think it's my favorite glitter. It's really beautiful. And then the day 3 is strength in weakness. I just loved the stickers in this kit. And around some of the verses, I kind of summarized what that verse was for because I wanted to remember. Use some of that same ribbon on the side and just let the fringe hang over. And then on this one, I was experimenting. I had a die, a winter die, and I went ahead and cut it out. And then I just used Versamark on top of it and use silver embossing powder, and I just really like how that turned out. And I also have a Greek alphabet stamp set and a Hebrew alphabet stamp set that I got from By the Well for God that I used to put some of those words that were in the devotional that I just thought were interesting and kind of thought-provoking to me, and then another charm that actually I left the color that it originally was. And so this is day 4, and this is gain by losing. And what I did with this die here, I also did with these snowflakes, just in a different embossing powder. This is a silver, this is platinum, and I just really like that. Background is a plaid stencil that I had, and I just used one of my inking colors and just flipped it and turned it to get a plaid effect on that. And then this, I wrote a quote on vellum, and then when I went to do some oxide inks over it, it kind of smeared it, but I loved how it looked, so I left it and put a little of the ribbon behind the socks. All of these are pieces from the kit. I don't know if the kit is available. It was several months ago. It might still be there. It might be worth a check. And so then day 5 is freedom and servitude. And I started in day 5 using some of these background pieces that I had from a Tim Holtz ephemera set. It just adds a bit of lettering that I think is really interesting to the eye, gives the background some more interest. And then I loved this quote from Paul Washer: "In the world, a man is known by what he owns. We Christians, however, are not known by what we own, but by who owns us." And I just really liked that. I thought a key fit in well. And I included the ribbon on both sides, and then these were just some brads that I had that I stuck on there. This background snowfall, I made sure that the card was completely dry, and then I used grip paste in a stencil that looks like this with the dots, and then before it dried I used silver embossing powder over it. And then I went through and heated it, and it created that really cool silvery snowfall. Just love that. And then day 6 is worthless masterpieces. This piece of watercolor paper, and in fact, I should tell you, every one of these, the fronts are watercolor paper, and I used these Love from Lizzie, the biggest tag, and I just kept cutting them out. This from watercolor paper, and the backgrounds are different papers. But what I did is each time I cut it out, I flipped this over in my die cut machine, otherwise it gets bent. And so each time I just cut it one time upside down, the other next time right side up, so that it wouldn't bend my die. Okay, so this was actually a thing I had already done, several weeks ago on my watercolor paper practicing doing a tree background, and then I saw it when I went to cut these out, and I thought, oh, that would actually make a great card because the colors fit in really well, and the theme of it, that kind of cool winter. And so I wanted to use that on the Worthless Masterpieces Day because it really wasn't much of a masterpiece, but I liked how it looked. I added this snow globe, raised it up a little with foam tape, and just one of my other charms. And then on the other side, I went ahead and included a quote and then the cards that went with that day. And I loved how this background turned out. It was just a white piece of cardstock that I embossed with an embossing folder that had the trees and the snow, and just did a light inking around it. And I loved that because a lot of the cards are dark. I thought it was nice every now and then to let the eye rest a little with some lighter colors. So I think that actually, as simple as it is one of my favorites. And then on this card, same thing, kind of that lighter look using the same colors. And I used the skis and the poles from the stamp set, and another one of my little lace side things. And this one is Rejoice in Suffering, and this is day 7. And then I also included on some of those little snow dots, I went ahead and used a stud, a silver stud. And in fact, these little dots here came out of a piece of that lace that I made and just kind of was saving. And you'll see in just a second how I used the lace. But I just liked how that ended up with the white snow and the silver studs. And then the ski thing, I went ahead and stamped it. Then while it was wet, embossed it with white embossing powder. And then I just used my watercolor pencils and some water to make the skis and do it like that. So this side are just some of the cards, some of the little snowflakes, a little bit of the ribbon, just keeping it tied together. This card, this is day 8. This is Hungry Yet Satisfied, and I just loved this croissant with the cocoa and everything from the packet. And I had a lot of fun with this. So what I did is I got several just strips of paper in the colors that I thought went well with this packet, and lined them up, glued them down, and then I sent the whole thing through an embossing folder. When that was done, I took Versamark and just lightly went over those raised parts, used embossing powder over it, melted it, set it, and there you go. And then I used one of my other laces right down here. I just thought that was just a fun one. And that whole idea of hungry yet satisfied. And then on this side, I wanted to kind of keep a silver thing going. I had a silver heat foil, and I had used it, a year ago, and it had a little bit of a pattern. This was the blank side. So I just used glue, stuck it down, stuck that on, and there you go. Pulled it up and it stuck on just great. I really liked how this little collection of that wording from Tim Holtz, Ephemera, just kind of guide your eye into the card. And I just liked how that looked. Cocoa on both sides. And then this card, this actually reminds me a lot of my daughter, and the next one particularly too, because she looks like that. And this one is day 9, Diverse and Unified. And that whole idea of we can be very, very different people and yet be unified in as Christians and in our love for God and in how we behave. And then on this side, I did the same thing with the gold foil that I did on the other one, added some of the houses, because that word serve, which goes along with being diverse and unified, we need to serve each other. When I saw that row of houses, it made me think of serving your neighbor. And then I also added another metal piece here that I've actually had for years, and there you go. Okay, so this actually looks very much like my daughter Kate. And this one is rest while yoked. So that whole idea of resting in the work of the Lord. And I added some metal, the Inspire. I really liked the sort of industrial feel of these metal gears and felt like that kind of evoked work and that type of idea. So I'm mixing the work with the resting and drinking your cocoa. And then on the back, I had this paper, thought it was beautiful. I ran glue around the flowers and then did the rock candy glitter on top and let that dry. And I loved this quote: "Jesus' yoke is easy and his burden is light because we are no longer trying to keep an impossible standard, but resting in the gift of salvation through Christ, then living a life of obedience out of love." I thought that was just a beautiful quote. And then this next one, I used some inking over a stencil. And let's see, this one, the one before that, this is the one where I got all those little round bits for the snowfall in that card. So don't throw things away. You might use them. I have cleared out now my work trays and gone ahead and thrown away little bits and pieces and things. I don't tend to keep a lot of little fiddly things. And my trays are now back in my closet, ready to refill for other projects. All right, and so this one is Faith and Works. It's not faith or works, it's faith and works. I thought that was interesting. And so I thought knitting went along with that well. And this is day 11. This one I thought was so fun. I put this little thing from the kit with a quote that I really liked. And David Guzik, he says, good works are valid evidence that someone is walking as one of God's chosen. And I put the ampersand from one of the letter things, the alphabet things, to remind me faith and works. And this, I thought this was fun. I just wanted to include some texture with some string, and I've got linen string and different things there. Okay, day 12. This is Wisdom in Foolishness. I had a stencil of a stack of books. I thought that would go well, so I put that in the back. More of the words, and this quote from Garrison Keillor: "The gospel is meant to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable." I thought that was interesting. And I loved this from the kit, the stack of books with the cocoa. I thought that was so pretty. And then on this side, we've got the other stack of books and a chair and a verse from 1 Corinthians, one of the scripture cards from the pack. And you'll notice that I do different colors of little grommets at the top, just depending on what the color is of the main color that I'm using on the card. This was one of my favorites to do. Anne loved this, and I did the skates pink just specifically for her. It was, of course, using that stamp, and I found a little Brad and some things, and just this is Seeing the Unseen. And then I had a little snowdrift and then added some glue and some pink glitter, and this quote: "Eternal things are the permanent reality. Earthly things are just a shadow." And I raised those ice skates up with a little bit of foam tape and used my alcohol markers actually to do the skates pink. When that was done, I went over with a little Versamark pen and went ahead and did the blades of the skates, platinum embossing powder over those, and I just thought they turned out so cute. And then these two beautiful pictures that were stickers from the kit, I just thought went really well with Seeing the Unseen. And you know how sometimes you're in the forest and you don't even see the animals that are there. They're so quiet. And that's day 13. And then this is day 14, my last one. And the impossible is possible. And I did this background with some ink smushing using the oxide inks. And then I ran it through an embossing folder so that this part was raised. Then I used gold Actually, I used Versamark just skimming it over the raised parts, then gold embossing powder. And then I added some inking and wiped it off of the gold. Used the last of my snowflakes. And I just really liked this line of houses and trees and added a little snow with some texture paste and rock candy. So that with the paste and the rock candy, it just creates this kind of raised snowfall look. And I don't know if you can tell that it's glittery. And then on the other side, used the last of my favorites of the little images from the kit. I had this sort of sugar cookie thing from a die that I have, and so I did some die cutting. Then you put some glue in here and then the rock candy and just smushed it all around so that the cookies are shiny and looks like they've got a little bit of dusting of sugar. The last thing on the ring is this ticket. It's a metal ticket that I have literally had for, I'll bet, 40 years that I've wanted to use. And I just wanted to use it at the end of all of this as sort of my finish to this. And so I'm going to put everything back on the ring and then I'll show you the final thing. So there is the whole set of all 14 days. We start with this gold key and end with my metal ticket that I'll have always liked. I went ahead and put some of the ribbon just around the ring that's holding everything. And so there you go. There's all 14 days. I have loved doing this. I've loved doing it on snowy mornings and just enjoying just the winter feel of this whole set. And so I hope you've enjoyed seeing my shorts that go along with this. And I hope that gives you some ideas that you can use for tags or cards or scrapbook pages or gifts or almost anything, and of course tags. And so I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and always remember how important the people in your life are, and they're always more important than things. And we'll see you next time.